Lila was running from betrayal, heartbreak, and a life that felt too heavy to carry. She found refuge in a small coastal town, its windswept cliffs and crashing waves offering a kind of peace she hadn't known in years. She rented a secluded cabin perched above the sea, spending her days painting the ever-changing skies and letting the salty air clear her mind. One golden evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the horizon with fire, Lila wandered to the cliffs. That's when she first saw him, a man standing near the edge, his figure silhouetted against the setting sun. His presence was magnetic, but there was something in his stance, in the way his shoulders hunched slightly forward, that spoke of grief. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she ventured. He turned to her, his piercing blue eyes startling against his weathered face. "It can be dangerous too," he said cryptically before walking away, leaving her intrigued and wanting more. Over the next few weeks, their paths kept crossing. Lila learned his name was Adrian, a sailor who spent most of his time repairing an old, battered boat in the harbor. He was guarded, his words curt, but Lila couldn't ignore the pull she felt toward him. Slowly, through fleeting conversations, she pieced together his story. Adrian had once been engaged to a woman named Evelyn. She was his world, his anchor, but one fateful night during a storm, she had disappeared at sea. Her boat was found shattered along the rocks, but her body was never recovered. Adrian had lived in limbo ever since, unable to grieve fully, clinging to the faint hope that she might somehow return. Despite Adrian's warnings to stay away, Lila persisted. She saw the man behind the pain, the passion he hid beneath his sorrow. Adrian began teaching her to sail, their connection deepening with every shared sunset and every secret whispered between them. But Evelyn's memory loomed like a shadow, and Adrian struggled with guilt as he found himself falling for Lila. One day, Lila overheard whispers in the town about Evelyn's disappearance. A shopkeeper let slip that Evelyn hadn't been alone the night of the storm. She had been seen boarding a ship with another man. At first, Lila dismissed it as idle gossip, but the more she dug, the more the pieces of the puzzle came together. Evelyn had betrayed Adrian, leaving with another lover under the guise of tragedy. Lila wrestled with whether to tell Adrian. When she finally did, his reaction was one of devastation and fury. "You don't know what you're talking about," he snapped, retreating to his boat. Lila, heartbroken, gave him space, unsure if their budding love could survive the weight of his pain. That night, a storm rolled in, fierce and unrelenting. Lila heard from the harbor master that Adrian had taken his old boat out to sea. Fear gripped her as she raced to the harbor, braving the wind and rain. Adrian was out there, risking his life in a desperate attempt to face the ghosts of his past. Lila commandeered a small boat and set out after him, the waves crashing around her. She found Adrian's vessel teetering in the storm, the mast cracked and water flooding the deck. "What are you doing?" she screamed against the wind. "I have to let her go," he shouted back, his voice breaking. "Then let me help you," Lila pleaded. Together, they fought the storm, Adrian steering while Lila bailed water. In that harrowing moment, Adrian admitted what he'd been too afraid to say. "I'm falling for you, Lila, but I don't know if I deserve this. I don't know if I deserve you." "You do," she said fiercely. "You deserve love, Adrian. Let the past go." As dawn broke, the storm calmed, and they made it back to shore, battered but alive. On the beach, Adrian lit a fire and burned the old boat, the last physical tie to Evelyn. It was an act of catharsis, a symbol of his decision to move forward. Months later, Lila and Adrian stood together on the cliffs, hand in hand. Lila had painted the sea, a masterpiece capturing both its ferocity and its beauty, much like their love. Adrian proposed with the same quiet intensity that had drawn her to him in the first place, and Lila said yes, tears glistening in her eyes. As they walked away, laughing and dreaming of their future, a figure emerged from the shadows of the harbor, a woman with striking eyes and a face lined with time. Evelyn. She watched them disappear into the distance, clutching a letter in her hand. It wasn't time yet, she thought. But soon, Adrian would know the truth. She hadn't been lost, nor had she betrayed him. She'd been taken. Beneath the same sky, their fates were still tangled, and the story wasn't over yet.